It is Friday, although I have to say the days are all just blending together. I am also the founder of SJS Events, which does high-end wedding planning in faraway destinations such as Tuscany and Lake Como. And she's been in business for a really, really long time. So I love not only uplifting other South Asian women in business, but what I really love is being able to tell their story and some of the lessons that they've learned as a result of being in business that long. So that's what we're going to be doing with Sonal today. I'm just waiting for her to join me. Sonal, if you're listening, you just got to go to the bottom here and ask to join. Let's see if that works as well. And there she is. Good morning.
Hi.
Actually, good afternoon, but a good morning for you because you are in Phoenix,
Good
right?
morning. Yeah, I'm in Arizona. How are you?
I'm good. It is a gray day, which must mean that it's Friday in New York because that's what it's been doing for the last five Fridays that I've been out filming my videos. It's pouring down rain, so I'm usually wearing my
Really?
yeah. How's life in Arizona?
Life is beautiful. It's about 106 degrees today. So I used to live here in Arizona a long time ago, but I'm really not used to the heat anymore after being in New York for so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's actually sunny and it's Friday and here we are. So
Well, I am just putting a little comment down below to pin it so that people know what's happening here today. So I'm just going to pin that. There we go.
you're such an expert at this. I learn so much every time I go live. I'm like, oh my God, it's live. But you know what? You learn a lot. So as long as you're learning, I guess that's the best thing.
Well, like I have spent 20 years in television as a talking head. And so it's sort of regular practice that there's always a lower third sitting on your screen that tells the audience, even if they're listening with the sound down, to turn the sound up because they want to make sure they're listening to the good things that we have to say.
You're natural, which is great. It makes me a lot more comfortable.
I was saying to the audience when I first came on here that you have been in business for a really long time. How long have you been in business?
18 years.
Which is a long time. And
I know I sometimes can't believe it when I say it to people because I really don't feel like I've been in business for that long. But yeah, it's been 18 years.
When you think back on the 18 years that you have been in business, what would you say are the top 3 business lessons that you've learned? If you were going to go back to the young Sonal and tell her your counsel, what would that be?
Oh, that's such a good question. That's really hard for me to answer because there's so many things. I think that the biggest thing is I wish that I had a team that was put together right from the beginning. And what I mean by a team is a great accountant, a great attorney, and a great financial advisor. And I think when you're first starting out in business, like people don't really tell you that. You just write up a business plan and then you're very excited to just get started and you're kind of like, oh, I'm going to prove everybody wrong, I'm actually going to do this, right? And I think that you are so gung-ho about just getting everything out the door and rolling that you forget sometimes that like these 3 individuals, an accountant, a great lawyer, and a great financial advisor are just, they're imperative for your business. So yeah, at least those 3 individuals, I think that I should have picked very early on because I would have done things a little bit differently.
When you think back on like the tipping point, right, where you decided that this was the moment in time when I was going to actually hire all 3 of those or all 4 of those, what was that moment like?
I think that I just realized that I'm good at logistics and being a planner, and my entire background was in hospitality management, but I'm not an accountant and I'm not an attorney. And, there's things I know about finance, but it's not, the advice that I really needed to be getting. So I think that the tipping point for me was really just at least trying to convince myself to accept the help. Because as business owners, sometimes you wear many hats and you just think that you're going to be able to do everything. And I think that it allowed me to spend a lot more time on my business, which was really helpful, and focus more on our clients and marketing and things that I needed to do that I was really good at. as opposed to these other things. And I think the tipping point was really just convincing myself that I really needed the outside help, and they were all part of this business team that was going to help me.
And the smart money is exactly that, right? Is that you should be spending all of your time and energy on what you do well
Correct.
and leave that to the experts. But we're so reticent to spend that money, but it's such good money well spent when you can do it, because it is true. It frees up energy in your space and energy and space in your head for you to focus on what you do well.
Yeah, and I'm really surprised because I think, people that are further along in their businesses, they kind of realize that. But starting out, you don't really realize that these are things that are not really an investment, they're a necessity for your business. So, yeah, looking back, I wish that like year one, I would have done that and I would have done things so differently as opposed to like year 4 or 5.
I interviewed a CEO earlier this week, and I asked him the same question. What would he tell himself before he became a $600 million valuation of a company? And he said that he couldn't put enough stock in mental health.
Hmm.
And that when you are leader in a position of leadership, you've got to manage the higher highs and the lower lows. And I imagine that applies to you, because drama seems to be what weddings seem to be at the end of the day.
Well, we wish that they weren't so much drama, but there's, especially with South Asian weddings, which is what I really specialize in, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. So I guess the drama automatically comes without even people knowing it. Yeah.
And so how do you maintain, I put that question to you, how do you maintain your mental health?
I mean, I think that for me, it's really important to have a network of people that I connect with that kind of understand what you're going through because they're going through the same thing. So whether it's, photographers that I work with, or DJs, or, just family friends that own their own businesses, I think it's very different when you're just starting out and it's something that's so new, right? Because wedding planning, let's face it, 18 years ago, nobody really had a wedding planner. It was very DIY. People are cooking the food in their home kitchen, and Aunt so and so is helping this, or Uncle so and so is doing this. So it was really a very new concept, and I think for me now, and even like reflecting back then, it was just the network that of people that I surrounded myself with that were kind of like my go-to when it came to you know just venting, or being able to ask for advice, or being able to say like, hey, do you think that the marketplace is going to sustain this kind of pricing, or what should I do in like this particular scenario? And I think that those things help me to be a lot more mentally sane, because let's face it, I mean, I think we're all in different businesses, but we just give so much. Like, our clients are there, our families we're constantly giving. And I think that even a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to someone, it's so important just to focus on yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because your mental health also affects the rest of your business and the people that are around you. And I think that that has a lot to do with it, and just being able to have a strong network of people that you can talk to.
You and I were talking earlier, and you said that the scope of weddings has changed. And I know you mentioned that it used to be more do it yourself. Now people are hiring wedding planners. But talk to me about that scope. It's now multi day, multi city, many, many outfits later that you've got an occasion that's being put on.
I mean, I think that if, as far back as I can remember, South Asian weddings are this very elaborate thing, right? Not just in India, but worldwide. And it's one of these events in your life or in your family's life that everybody's looking forward to it. It's a huge get together. It's a celebration where, you're bringing two families together. So I think that there's an enormous amount of pressure to get it right. And I couldn't imagine back in the day people just doing it themselves, because again, there's so many cooks in the kitchen and everybody has an opinion, and oh, this is what you should wear and this is what the food should be like. And I think that evolving from that point to now, at least there's some sort of expert advice that you're getting, because we've been through this. I think I'm like on wedding number like 1600 or 17, something in that neighborhood. I lost count someplace along the way. But I think that just like there's expert advice when it comes to other aspects of things that you're doing in your life, planning a wedding is a huge commitment. And I think that having someone that's an expert that's done this up to a number of times is really helpful. But yeah, weddings have really evolved to not just having it be, okay, this is multiple days, multiple outfits, but the amount that people are spending, like I tell potential clients all the time, there's probably never going to be another life event where you're going to drop $500,000 or $1 million in the course of a weekend. And I think that people have to realize it's not just about the experience that you're giving your guests, but also what is that experience like for you when you're planning it? What is the experience like for your family members and your parents? Because it can get really stressful and it causes a lot of friction between people, and a lot of these people live in the same household, so you don't want to be like fighting over such a happy occasion. And I think that bringing in someone who's an expert can kind of help alleviate a lot of that, the unknown, because they've never done this before, and it is a
Mhm.
huge amount. And you're in front of a lot of people, and a lot of people are very nervous about planning things for like 300, 400, 200 people.
I know that you do your own IG lives with vendors, apparel vendors, Mundup vendors. How has that scope changed in terms of, your conversations with those kinds of people? I imagine the expectations have gone through the roof.
Yeah, they are, but I think that what I'm trying to do with a lot of my IG lives is to make people really human. I have a network of vendors worldwide, and they're phenomenal and they're fabulous, and we want people to know what makes them really fabulous, and what kind of client care do they provide. And it's not just like, okay, this is an outfit that you're getting from this famous designer. What goes behind their strategy. And not everybody is a size 2 or a size 4. So let's say that you're a bride that's a size 10 or a 12. Like, how do these outfits work for you? And I think it really humanizes the process that they go through to come up with their designs, whether it's decor or clothing or even like a videographer. I mean, people think, oh, it's a videographer, it's a cinematographer. Like, they come, they shoot, they edit. But no, there's so much more emotion that they have behind their craft. And I think people need to know about it, especially for weddings. It the vendors that you hire literally make or break your event. And I am so gung-ho about passing that message along to people, whether they're my client or whether they're just planning a wedding on their own. The stress that's associated with the weekend of really comes down to the vendors that you choose. And if you're choosing the right vendors who have their shit together and they've been in business a long time, I think that it makes a world of difference, the level of professionalism that you're going to get, as opposed to, okay, I saved $1,000 here, but then you're not like going into that wedding weekend with that full trust and confidence that you need.
It's been unprecedented times,
Of
although
course.
I suspect in 18 years you've had other crises that have happened. But this one, I imagine, has really postponed a ton of weddings.
Hmm. Yeah.
Talk me through that.
Well, I think that maybe about 4 or 5, maybe even 6 weeks ago, we were all super optimistic. Okay, we might have to reschedule a couple of our April weddings. And then it was like, okay, maybe we'll need to reschedule a couple of our May weddings. And now we're all the way up to September and October with people rescheduling. And I think that it doesn't really have to do with this fear per se. I think that it just has to really do with the fact that people want to be in the right frame of mind to plan such an occasion. And it's a happy occasion, and what's happening in the world is, obviously not ideal right now. But I think that a lot of it has to do with, having your guests feel comfortable about traveling. Media and what's happening in the media about social distancing, how many people can I have? And I think that for us as professionals, we want to also get a grip on what is happening. Like, we're getting the news just like everybody else, right? We don't really have any inside scoops into things that other people might not know. But I feel like people that are postponing, they're not actually canceling, which is fantastic. They're postponing till next year. They're giving themselves enough time to just kind of take a moment to breathe, absorb all this in and what's happening in the world, and then go back to planning a little bit later. And we're fully supportive of people moving their dates to next year. But I will say that what's happening now in the wedding industry as a whole, worldwide, not just in, the United States, is we're getting 2 years worth of weddings that are converging onto 2021. And it is just like, there's no dates. The good vendors are getting taken. And it's not to create like mass hysteria, but it's also to just put the word out that people need to be really decisive. Families need to be decisive. I think that people that are able to sit down, talk to their families and say, hey, let's make a decision. Because if someone's like, well, let's just see what happens. Let's just see what I think that that's such a hard thing to do, because nobody knows what's going to happen. And I don't think we're going to wake up one day and this whole thing is just going to go away and they're like, okay, go back to your normal lives, right? So taking that into consideration and taking things day by day, week by week, I think a lot of couples and their families are doing the right thing by being able to at least explore the options. So what we've been doing is, let's say you're getting married in October or November of this year, we're just opening up the option of saying, okay, let's find out when all your vendors are available. Let's find out when your venue is available. Let's kind of, put this all on a grid and let's come up with some dates that might work. And we're not ready to pull the trigger yet and just move, but at least you have all the information and you know what you can potentially do. And I think it's great to have these options of, okay, let's keep it this year, but we know what dates we have available for next year. And I think it makes people feel a little bit better knowing that they have an option B and a backup plan if they really need it. But yeah,
I'm going to
next year
interrupt
is
you
going to
for
be
a second.
crazy.
I have a question though. I've got a lot of members now in Lady Drinks, and there's a lot of doctors who are talking about the social distancing, even with people in the waiting room. So when you've got 300, 400 people that are expected to show up to a joyous occasion like this, how is this social distancing part going to work? Are you thinking about that?
Yeah, we were just on a Zoom call. We've been on 2 Zoom calls this week that just spoke about that, because Greece opened up, and Greece is a huge destination travel market for us for weddings. And now they're only allowing like 3 to 4 people per table. So if you imagine only 4 people on a 72-inch round that can normally hold 10 to 12, and you have a 300-person wedding, I mean, these are a lot of tables that you need to accommodate this many people, and you need a massive venue for something like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's happening in Greece right now, and kind of following suit on what they're doing. I mean, the United States hasn't like announced anything of the sorts just yet, but we really, all of our new brides for next year, we're really telling them, like, get a bigger venue. Like, if you think you're gonna have like 300 guests, get a venue that can hold like 600 or 700, because you just don't know what's going to happen between now and even April, May, June, July of next year. And if these regulations go into place, you can't really be like, oh my God, I now need to find a new venue. So I think that portion of it, we're really, really seriously focusing on at our company, but also just hiring caterers that are, going to do sit down dinners and not just do buffets. What is their protocol going to be? How are they handling masks, gloves, their staffing, like food handling? And I think that it's also communicating with our vendors to kind of figure out, like, what are we going to be offering our clients for next year? That's not nearly like, it doesn't really have to be like just a state mandate or a government mandate, but just like for us as professionals, what are we doing to keep people safe?
I also wonder if maybe there's going to be a sea change where people are just going to opt to have more intimate weddings where what can't be 300 people because the budget just doesn't allow for a 600-person space. Could you see that in the future?
Yeah, I think that a lot of folks are really, if they were going to have 300-person wedding this year, they're really thinking about, okay, what is my guest list looking like for next year? And how it's not, sometimes it's not just about the couple deciding, but their guests are going to decide for themselves. Am I going to get on a plane and head to New York City for this wedding, or am I going to go to New Jersey for this wedding? Because a lot of our guests come from all over. And a lot of times, especially the international guests that are taking these flights from India, or that are taking these flights from the Far East, I mean, they are on a flight for a really long time trying to get to your wedding. So I think that sometimes it's just going to be, okay, we're going to send out the invites and we're going to see what happens. And a lot of my couples for this year, I'm still encouraging them, because for some people it's really important. Okay, I have to get married this year. I want to start a family next year, et cetera, et cetera. So we're still encouraging them, hey, do your wedding this year, have it be very small, very intimate. I was just on a call with a company, which is fantastic. They just came out with this whole it's not like a Zoom call, but it's almost like a virtual way of getting married, which is very beautiful, elegant. The backdrop that they send you, that you put up, so it's not like, oh, I'm gonna get married in front of this brick wall, let's just say. Yeah. And you can, there's a link you send out, and it's a very upscale version of Zoom, let's just say. And it's for the couple that still wants to get married this year and keep plugging away with the rest of their life, because how long are you going to really wait sometimes,
And so is the technology such that everybody's going to be able to dial in virtually and wish you well?
Correct. So let's say the priest is there, and then the couple is there, their family members are social distancing at home, but then this company comes with a professional camera crew that is doing this whole thing virtually for the rest of your guests, that can basically dial in, join in to be able to see your ceremony. And then I think, next year, or even 2020, 22, people can do something that's more celebratory for a smaller number of people. But I think that it's only going to, time really is, the deciding factor of what's going to happen. I mean, I still encourage guests, send out the invitations, and, especially for South Asian weddings, if you've gone to all these other people's weddings, then they're going to eventually come to your wedding, because it's more like for Indian weddings, it's just the thing to do, right? I mean, that's why these weddings get to be so big.
What are some of the advice that we haven't touched upon that you are telling brides? I remember you saying that if you are thinking of a 2021 wedding, now's the time to really think and plan. But now it sounds like that maybe that planning time, that latitude isn't there anymore.
Well, it's really crazy for next year. I mean, 2021 and even into 2022, because let's face it, there's, X number of days that are auspicious, and only, Y number of days that are auspicious and fall on a weekend, right? So we're just really, like, the things that we go through to pick dates that are auspicious, and, all these things, they're just few and far between. So everybody that's moving from this year to next year is also affecting all the brides who are originally going to be planning to get married in 2021. So there's just like this whole dichotomy of things that I've never seen before in 18 years. And it's not just for venues and couples, it's also for vendors. Because now, like, vendors are, okay, my one bride from 2020 wants to move to 2021, but I'm getting this whole influx of calls for 2021. So how do I balance all this? And a lot of your luxury vendors we only do 2 weddings a month, right? Just for our own sanity and the customer service that we provide, we only really do 2. We don't ever double book a wedding, and then we only do 2 weddings a month. So it really makes it challenging to accommodate everything that's going on.
So it sounds like a lot of patience is going to be in order come 2021 if you are planning to get married.
Correct. And I've also been telling a lot of new clients, like, I get it. Everybody wants to get married on a Saturday, but in India, people get married on a Tuesday, or they get married on a Wednesday. Like, it's not that big of a deal, especially if you can get your venue and you can get your vendors and you still have a beautiful wedding and people are still able to travel. Just open up these dates so that you're a little bit more at peace as to what is available, and making sure that you get what's going to make you happy.
I think one of the things that's signature about you is that you do a lot of exotic vacation destination weddings. What are some countries, some places that people haven't considered that you think are like a real gem. It's an undiscovered gem. And if Greece or Italy and Spain or Mexico or all the places that you've already done weddings aren't available, what's a nice tucked away place that you'd recommend?
Uh, there's so many beautiful places. I'm very fortunate because I get to travel a lot and I love to travel, as everybody knows. Honestly, being stuck in one location for 8 weeks, I don't remember the last time that I was in the same city for 8 weeks at a stretch. So I think that, my favorite places, I mean, I love Italy, and we've talked about like Lake Como. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, especially for Indian weddings. There's just, I think that there's just it's so charming, and the character that Italy has. Any different city that you go to, I think, is just beautiful. We recently, a lot of our weddings are getting smaller, right? So they're talking about these private buyouts, and there's a ton of small islands in the Caribbean that literally it's just you and your guests. There's nobody else there. And it's perfect for hosting like 100-person wedding. We were approached by some places in the Maldives. Same thing. You just buy out. I mean, it's one resort per island in the Maldives. You buy out the whole resort. It's just you. But some of these properties are gorgeous. They're stunning. And it's like, people want to create an experience for their guests. And this is like an experience like no other. And I think that, some of these places are thought about as more like honeymoonish destinations, but that doesn't mean you don't have to take like 100 people, and you could just do this phenomenal wedding that would really, really be very special for your guests. I think we're all about creating guest experiences. A lot of our clients were, and I hope so still for next year into 2022, we're doing Switzerland, Italy, France, Greece, and these places are amazing. And I think that, even Mexico is great, but there's so many Indian weddings that happen there that I think if you're really looking for something that's like the exclamation point, these places
Yeah.
are amazing.
I, like you, love to travel, and I'm lamenting that I haven't been able to do Argentina and Italy as I was planning to in these last couple months. I just on Lark, I was just calling the same vendors that I was using for my travel to see if I could rent a villa in Italy for 4th of July, or if we could do our wine tour of Mendoza in Argentina. And some of those countries aren't even actually allowing commercial flights to land, and
Right.
especially not. And if you're coming from New York, I'm being told that you could be put in quarantine for 14 days. So
14 days, yeah.
you're on the front lines. This is my last question. Um, what countries do you think are probably going to be a little more lax about that?
Well, we were just on a call with people from Greece, and there is someone from the Switzerland Board of Tourism there. So I think Switzerland opened up this week, so you're able to still travel there. We have an amazing wedding next May that's taking place in Switzerland. It's about 300 guests. So I'm very excited about that. And then Greece just opened up. Yes, they're practicing a whole lot of social distancing, but those two locations are open. And I'm sure like little by little other countries will open up. But yeah, at least those two places for the time being, I know for sure are open.
Okay. Well, Sonal, this has been great. I always enjoy learning some business savvy from you. Any last parting thoughts that you'd like to share?
I think that we spoke about this before, but if you're a person that's like just starting out and you're just starting out and you small business, get a phenomenal team. I have a couple of assistants that literally they just keep me sane. There's no way I could do my job without them. And I think it really, really helps to have that other person or two other people that really understand you, your vision, what you're trying to do for your company. And again, it's an investment, right? I mean, these are paid employees. And I think that this is really something that everybody should invest in. I know a lot of small businesses that's just like the owner and then that's it. And I think
Right.
your business would go so much further if you really invested in someone. And it's relinquishing that control, right? We talked about that before, but when someone really gets you and you spend the time and invest in them and teach them, you can't put a price tag on what kind of peace of mind that brings you.
I love hiring people that are infinitely smarter than me. And I just
Me
hired
too.
a VA in
Me
the
too.
last few months because, but she also had complementary skills, right? Like she is far more technologically savvy than I have the bandwidth to be. And I consider myself above average in terms of being able to grasp technology, but she knows way more. And that I don't need to learn a whole new skill set. She's already got it. So she's complementary to what I'm doing. And
I
she
think
just wants to know how to help. That's the attitude with which she comes to the table. And it's a co-creation at the end of the day. And I think that you're right. It came to a point where I was wasting energy on admin tasks that were better spent having somebody else do them.
I always say you can learn from everyone and every situation you're put in. And I am like so fortunate because we get interns, and I mean, they're 21 or, 22, and they are like a wealth of knowledge. The things that they know, I don't even know. And just the way they
Yeah.
do things, I'm floored almost every single day because I'm like, oh, how do I figure this out? And they just know it like that. And you're right. You want
Yeah.
to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, because at the end of the day, especially when you're a business owner, you need someone to tell you, you know what, this is good, this is bad, this is, this is my opinion on this. And you want people to be able to bounce ideas off of, for sure.
And make sure that they have a voice. I know that you have a voice. Thank you, Sonal, for your time
Thank
today.
you.
I'm going to
Thank
put
you so
this
much.
IG Live up on my stories as soon as we're finished here. If someone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
They could just email me, sonal@sjsevents.com. And if they go to our website, www.sjsevents.com, my cell phone number is on there, and I'm very accessible.
And I'll offer the same. You're a Lady Drinks member. Thank you for your support through this time and your contributions to the community. And if anyone wants to reach me, you can get me at JOYA@ladydrinks.com. And the website is ladydrinks.com. Everybody have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye.
Bye.